Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can create for yourself at home this gorgeous, easy wildflower. I think you guys are going to love it. We're going to have a lot of fun together. I'm sort of flying blind today because my monitor is completely off.
It has died again.
And I don't even see me pulling up on the live over here, babe.
We're having a lot of technical things
We're
here.
having a lot of technical issues.
But hold on a second. I can fix. Yeah, we are live now.
We are live now? Okay. We're having a lot of technical internet issues. Oh, there I am. It just decided. You know what? I think these machines might be alive.
I think that they have.
Wait until we're live
about
to have these moments.
No. They wait until less than 3 minutes before. There's
3 minutes before we're live.
There
to
is
have these
a
moments.
time paradox loop that Murphy lives in that only is about 3 minutes before a show. That's when he visits.
So this is a live painting class. It's a step-by-step
Super
class.
live.
I love it at this stage. If you're brand new here, I really want to welcome you. You must be all full of bubbly expectations, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if I'm going to be able to teach you,
I don't know what's going to
how
happen.
your flowers are going to be, but that's okay because I know I've done this so many times that sometimes we don't even remember what I've painted.
Yep, that's true. It's true.
Yeah, I got to make a catalog or something. There's just thousands and thousands of paintings. So I know that you've got this. I believe in you. So don't worry about those moments when you're feeling a little bit awkward or maybe unsure. I have a lot of techniques. I have a lot of explanations. In the live stream, here's what's super cool. You can ask questions during the live. One of two things will happen. One of the helpful moderators who are so sweet, those are people with the wrenches, they will help you find a video, link, or blog that answers that question. They may even be able to answer direct because they've been watching the show for a really long time. Okay, so there's that one resource. They're ambassadors for you. The other one is you might get it answered live on the show because this is not a pretend live show. This is a live show. Live wire show. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. This is a simple painting.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be surprised at how not drawing necessary it is. So if you don't draw, this is your floral. This one is the one you've been waiting for. It's going to break it open for you. Now here's the trick to success. I want you to breathe. I want you to slow down and remember that you have the time that you need to do what you need to do. I might need to be scooched over. My head's over the brown and the green. Okay, so see live, right? So you can pause me. You can rewind me. You can do whatever you need to do with the video. You can play an area over and over again to make okay, to make it so that I don't want to do it again. To make it so that okay, I don't want to make anybody sick. I might give somebody motion sickness. But to make it so that this video works for you, because that's how this is. Do I know that you can do this? I know that you can do this. I am going to break it down into steps. Those steps are going to be time-stamped, labeled. You can find your place again about 7 to 14 days after the show. We write up written instructions that match the live video that you can print out with step-by-step photos. They're basically books that you can download for free. It's crazy. I think we're like in 300-400 of them at this point. I have to stop. But
It's fun.
I do whatever it takes. If
want.
you go to the Art Sherpa official group, what you're going to see is a lot of people sharing art, and they're sharing art because they're succeeding at their art. And that's what I want for you. All right, so be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button and do all the things. Let's go over the materials. Today we are sporting the Handy Dandy 9x12 surface.
I pre-stepped.
It's okay.
We
We
are
are sporting the Handy Dandy 9x12 surface that wants you to be you. Sometimes I doodle on the canvas. Not every time, but sometimes I do. We have phthalo green and burnt sienna, quinacridone magenta, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, the oxazine purple. Now, next to each other is phthalo blue and ultramarine blue. In time, they will look like completely different blues to you. If they feel like they look like the same, just know that if you're doing it on your own palette, you either may need to separate them or label them. I'm always going to say phthalo blue or ultramarine blue, so I won't be mixing it up during the show. That way to guide you. Mars black, titanium white, and up here in the corner I have a little extra phthalo blue and phthalo green, just in case I run out during the show, because sometimes the beginning background mix takes up a bit. Did you know it takes up a bit?
I did.
Of the background. All right, let's do a background. What do we want to do the background
Now
in?
this is step one.
This is step one now. All right, I'm going to use just a big square brush. It's not really that big. It's about an inch wide. This is the number 20 Raphael Artini brush. It's made with hog bristles. Generally, acrylic brushes come in a synthetic filament or natural bristle. You don't really do hair that often with acrylic. You can use either your preference. I like to have a mix of both because the way that they're textured differently, but just make sure your brushes are firm enough for the paint that you're using. If you're using craft bottle paint, you can use a soft brush, but if you're using heavy body paint, you're going to want something a little scruffier, a little more robust. I'm going to get my brush wet in my paint bucket, wipe it off on a paper towel, and I'm going to mix a little bit of my phthalo blue and phthalo green together, and that makes a turquoise. I'll get some white, and we're going to just go up and down in a very streaky manner on the surface. So, and when I say streaky, I don't mean that the canvas underneath doesn't has a lot of holes in it or is showing through. I'm wiping off on my paper towel because I've got a lot of pigment in there. What I mean is that the paint isn't thoroughly and evenly mixed, and that there are kind of different stripy colors going up and down. That's what I mean. I'm painting away my little bee. His energy will fly into the universe and encourage you to be you. Just be yourself, man, because who are you living for? Right? Your neighbors? Don't do that. Other people's opinions of you? Don't do that. You can't win that way. And you know what winning is, John?
Painting?
Well, yes, but happiness. Winning is happiness.
I guess that's a form of happiness.
If you're happy, you're winning. Money isn't winning. Having a jet ski isn't winning.
Well, if you're happy, having a jet ski can make it more fun.
But that's the part of the jet ski that's working, right? Is the happy part. Just painting right over this with my turquoise and white. And you can see just up and down. And that's just creating this nice little striation. I kind of want it lighter. You can see that's why I put out a good bit of white. I find in acrylic painting I use about twice the white to any other color that I have. I'm going to lighten this up over here. I want this to be kind of a bright, clear day lightness, right? Not a dark, stormy sky, but a lighter sky. Phthalo blue and phthalo green working together. I get away with my little bugs because I've got a lot of flowers I'm putting here, so they're going to go away after all the layers.
Yeah.
That's how I get away with putting little messages for you guys on canvases. You can see I sometimes come around. Now, if you aren't framing or you prefer it, you can paint the sides of the canvases at this stage. You would just go around the side, paint it and dry it, paint it and dry it. And that can make it nicer for you guys to hang. At the very least, you're going to want to make sure that the fold is painted so if you frame, that part of the surface is hidden. I may come back with some more white and add some little streakies like I like to do. Isn't that nice? And that's all we got to do there.
Really nice.
You just get that till you're happy. I'm happy. If you're happy, you're good. Now I'm going to dry this with a hairdryer. John and everybody's going to advise you not to use too much heat. The heat advice is true. It's more true the less expensive your paint is.
Yeah.
It can become really true on less expensive paint. So if you're painting very economic paint and it feels like no matter how hard you try, your paintings are just super dark, you may be having something called color shift happening in your painting. And that is very true of economic paints. Professional paints still do it, but less. But we're all having to correct for it. Watercolor gets lighter.
You just totally stole my whole thing. Like, I don't have anything else to say
I know.
now.
I just need you to talk to them about something else. I did that on purpose.
Oh, okay.
You're going to have to, I don't know, talk to them about a new topic instead of the one you've been talking about for 7 years.
I could do that, or I could tell you the other benefits of not using heat. Just kidding. Down there in the link in the description down below is all of the stuff that we put in the resources to help make things a little easier on you. There should be things like a link to our website where we have calendars and our mini books are there. And pretty soon we're going to have a pretty cool store opening there. That's coming along well. Um, Man, just so many wonderful things. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. It super helps. Sharing, another good thing. That helps too. So, yeah. Thank you guys. And now, a new step.
Dr. Nancy Hart says, I have watched you guys for a lot of years and saved your paintings on my phone. Love you both. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I see Irene, one of our recent giveaway winners, which hopefully is just gotten checked. I like swear every time I say her, I'm like, did you know you won a giveaway?
Did you know that I spent like several different websites trying to understand the correct pronunciation for your last name, even though I can't say pronunciation.
And we never got there.
And I never, yeah.
We Googled it and didn't get there.
It got us close, I think.
A little bit. But we tried. We love you. That's why I tell the kids all the time. I may not be doing it right, but I'm trying really hard. Okay. So I'm going to show you a trick on how to have your flowers be okay. I think, though, actually, I might do yellow chalk. It might show, I don't know what's going to show more. If it doesn't show for you guys, I may do it in paint. You don't do yours in paint. You do yours in chalk, but sometimes the camera doesn't really pick it up. So here's the trick. I'm going to paint in some spike flowers. John, you want to throw up a new step? Okay, I'll take my white paint. With chalk, what you're going to want to do is come from at least about 3 inches on the bottom and sketch a little bit of a bend. This mapping, you're going to come over at least a couple fingers. I might want to, well, I'm going to still bend it. You can go up higher or lower. You need to leave at least an inch from the top. If you're using chalk, you can erase back. Can you guys see this even with the paint?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. All right. Then let's make a shorter one. And we're going to curve it back down. Right? So we've got almost 3 inches from the top. And we've got good spacing. 2 to 3 fingers between those flowers. Let's put a couple tall ones. All right. Maybe he's got a little friend, a little bit kind of going down. And then another little friend. You'll notice that there's 2 to 3 fingers between the flowers. That lets me have a little extra give to make some nice room. I want that one to be shorter and the one next to it to be taller for the flowers. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines, and they go up and down on the surface. The variance is the big part, okay? That's the big deal. The most important part. Now I'm going to get a brush called a filbert. This one is a number 8 Simply Simmons. A filbert is a brush that's a little bit rounded at the end. Guess what? You could use a square brush. It's really not hypercritical that you use a filbert. It's just a nice brush that you can use. We're going to get a little bit wet. Our little white light streaks are dry, and we're going to mix up my favorite red, which is quinacridone magenta and cad red medium with a smidge of white. Smidge means a small amount. We lighten it maybe just barely shade. And I'm going to come here, and at the top, I'm going to just tap the little brush. And I'm making little curved strokes. See how they go? A little curve, curve. It's going to get a little wider as we come down. And then at the bottom, we can fill in entirely. I love this color mix. It is my favorite. Cad red, quinacridone magenta, titanium white. Best color. Just trying to make enough here so that we have very vibrant flowers. Same up there. Small touches, right? Whether you're using a bright or round, you're just wanting to make these little curves. So curve, curve. And you can see as we come down, we sort of thicken it out. You don't have to be too solid down here because we have a lot of grass and things that are going to go on top of it, so it doesn't need to be perfectly painted. Since this one is this tall, I'm going to make the next one a little bit shorter like we talked about, and that's what the map was for. It helps us do a little bit of curve to the flowers, you know, so that they have a little bit of a bend. I love this color against that blue. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Cad Red, Quinacridone Magenta. Just the best intermediary mix. Am I missing any questions? Tippy, tippy, tippy. Let's do a short one here. Little curls. Just going wider to the bottom. You've got this. I go pretty fast. Pause me, slow me down. It won't kick you out of live chat if you're here for live chat. The live chat will just continue on. So don't feel like you've got to keep a pace. Do you have any questions, John?
I will see
thoughts, musings, considerations for the universe?
No, just right now, kind of I was double checking some stuff about store questions. Let's see, here's a good question I just looked over and saw. Would you make a watercolor sketchbook stitched to sell? Stitched.
I will see if that's something possible to do.
I don't know. We've never had that request before. We can look into it. I'm gonna see.
I can look into it. If I hear there's a good one, I will. I can tell you right now, my favorite ones. Honestly, there's a guy doing leather bound hand stitched Fabriano ones on Etsy, using Fabriano paper. Only one dude using Fabriano paper, so it's not a hard search. Really cool. But if one comes available, I will definitely, or I see that one's available, I will consider putting it in there. I'm into that. I'm having so much fun with the watercolors. Gosh, guys, John will tell you, I've been doing study after study. You've got tips, you've got tricks, you've got things coming out soon. You know, you give me a minute of your time, I'll teach you a thing. Kind of stuff. And then like some quick look at roses, and we're going to get our whole little loose flower crew together on there. So I'm just coming down here. You can see it's just, these wander up and down, don't they? Now, where there's extra wideness between them, you can always sort of fill in. Yeah, we're going to have grass, we're going to have flowers. But having a little bit of pink peek through the holes does not hurt us. Does not cause us harm, John. No. No. No harm is caused. A little bit of white, little bit of Okay, yeah, I just went there. That was weird. That's the other thing to realize is like we've got 2 more values, maybe even, of flower to do. Isn't this fun how you just touch the flowers? It's like you don't even need a traceable for that. And honestly, when I do a traceable like this, it gets flagged for content because it thinks I drew a different thing than what I drew. Happened to us a few times now. It's like, yeah, that's not what's happening in AI, but you do you. Okay, let's call this a step. We don't even have to dry it. Throw them up another step. All right. I'm going to take a little more of my quinacridone over to my Cad Red. And this time, a lot more white. See how we're bringing it into much more of a pink? It's like a flamingo. Now I don't take out everything I painted down, but I come right over it and you can see that I touch same brush strokes. I move pretty quickly down now though. And the dark creates a little bit of contrast, doesn't it? By the time we do our lightest pink, it's like, whoa, these flowers are fairly actually well painted. Not that different from the technique of painting a flower in a serious manner. Sometimes very serious painting techniques are actually pretty fun and easy. It's just about knowing where to apply them. Look at us go down. So see, we've gone a dark value and a middle value. Do I need a little more wet over here? I think I do. A little more wet over here. So I do want it to be a lighter value than the first pink I put down so that there's that contrast between the dark pink and this now medium pink. Look at this go. It's not long, just touching it. I'm not painting out everything I did. I leave darks to pop through. Because flowers have petals, and those petals are facing the sun or away from the sun, and so they'll have different values. Oops. Over thickened it, but you know what? You just go down, and you can see we're just going very quickly. We're not stressed about it. Then we'll have a step after this with a very, very light pink, and then these flowers are just done. And you can put these flowers in any painting that you have. They work good in vases. This technique will give you lilacs. This technique will give you lavender. This technique kind of works for any spike flower, any lupine. You can just work with this as a base and it will get you there. All right, now, new step. Don't even have to rinse out if you don't want to. We're going to make a very light color. Might even get a little water into it. So see how we've gotten a lot of white into that? I leave a lot of the pinks that I've already done kind of underneath. And I might be focusing my light color a little more towards the left edge. Tell me this just isn't a pink. This is, by the way, the colors for flamingos. If you are feeling you need to paint a flamingo and you're like, what colors would I use? These would be very good colors for your flamingo. You can do this. You've got this. Notice that I come from my white and I bring it over to my color, but what I'm not doing is corrupting the main body of my paint plops. That is paint management, and that lets me not use up too much paint by accidentally getting a color that I'm going to need for mixing later. Look at that go. Bring it down. You can see we get kind of loose down here. I love getting loose. Love getting loose with it. I know I'm going to need some more white. In acrylic painting, when you're trying to figure out how much paint will I need, just know you'll be replacing your white twice as often as your other colors. Blue, you're going to use a lot of blue. Use a lot of blue. Because there's very few paintings that doesn't have some sort of blue in it. So certain colors you're going to kind of go through, and other colors like Mars Black, tube will last you a long time. Burnt sienna tube will last you a long time. So Doc's purple, oh my gosh, Doc's purple lasts me forever. You don't need that much. Doesn't come up a lot. Now I'm going to kind of reorient over here, maybe a little bit more to the right side with my pink. Miss my palette with a mister. I'm on a Stay Wet palette by the Art Nouveau guy, the Art New Wave guys. I don't know. They got the Stay Wet. They bought it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, my brain was just jumping between
Yeah.
different things. Gotcha. Okay, no, that
No,
makes sense.
they also make the only really safe glass palette you can
Yeah.
use. Don't take glass out of a frame and try to turn it into an acrylic palette. It's super dangerous. I'm going to make a funny video with just different glass windows breaking on people as a way to illustrate why it's not a good idea. You need special tempered glass because you put a lot of weird strains and pressures from painting on your glass palette, and popping it out of a frame is super dangerous. Let me tell you, that's a very popular tip on Pinterest. Every time I see it, I go, oof, somebody can get hurt. All right, pink spike flowers. Look at us. You can kind of wipe off any little extra paint on your brush down here. It's fine. Rinse it out. You're doing so good. Oh, I like that. Remember the 3 P's: persistence, patience, and practice to get to your desired goal.
Oh, yeah.
Today's painting, what you need to know as a new painter is the painting you do today is not the painting you will do 100 paintings from now. Those 2 paintings will be so different from each other that you will look back at the first painting and just be like, what? Because your brain has a journey it needs to take. Your artist's heart has a journey it needs to take. There's a process that you have to go through of skills, techniques, your personal expression, your little sense of vibe, getting a studio set up, learning how to have a practice, all these little things, big and small, that come together to help you have artistry in your life. And that just doesn't happen overnight because you snap your fingers. You can follow a tutorial and you can get this painting, but just know that the artist that you're hoping to be someday, it's in you, it's there, it will come. Give yourself time. I'm going to dry this and we're going to do another step.
Okay. Yeah, just give it in. Yeah, just give it a quick, thorough dry, and then on to the next step. Then these are just sort of those lovely, soft, out of focus background flowers. And as the next layers come in, it really does sort of build depth and dimensionality. So I really like that. Just a simple little layering technique does such a nice job of creating that. So don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all those things. Because, we like hearing from you guys. If you haven't been to a live, you really should. They're super a lot of fun, as all the people here would say. Yeah, lots of fun things that we do here. And now, the 5th step.
Okay, so to get to this, we have to do a very ugly layer. I'm just wanting to warn you. It's an ugly layer. Acrylic paintings have ugly stages before they get to the pretty phases. So I'm just wanting to mentally prepare you for that and just to trust me and go with me here, even as your brain is going, nope, 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 don't love it. It's not working. Don't like it. You're going to love it when it's done. Acrylic happens in layers. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do, and we're going to do it with 2 brushes. We're going to do it with, I might want a smaller filbert. We'll see if I can get it with my bigger filbert and not change brushes at all, but I might, let's do it with a round and a bright. That'll make it easiest on us. All right, so a bright is a square brush like this, right? Got this little brush here. We got a little round here. I've got my filbert here. I'm going to put this to the side. I don't think I'm going to use this. I think I'm going to use these 2. Number 12, Textura Bright, and then a number 4 round Simply Simmons. Any of these are fine. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to paint the under of the daisy. Okay. So I'm going to take a little bit of my ultramarine blue and a smidge, and I mean a smidge, of my Doxazine purple, and I'll show you. I'm going to use chalk. I'm going to give myself something about that round. All right, that's about a couple inches in diameter. I'll put a little dot in the center so I know where I'm going. See how I gave myself a dot? Now, at the top, my brush strokes tend to be vertical. As they come over right, they curve right. This continues on into the bottom. This is a weird shadow that we're creating for a daisy that's happening. And so this is how we're doing. We're just kind of, this one is facing us, so all we're doing is just making sure that when I put the white on there, it's going to pop. Now this one is interesting. This one is facing up. So I'm going to show you a little something. So the center of this one is facing upwards, which means I'm going to not quite touch. Curving here. I don't actually need to go much past here on my little shadow of the flower. See how we're doing? So the center will be there, and the layering of the petals is what's going to make it seem cupped. I'm also going to come over here, more on the right hand side, about at the third line, loading up a little Dox purple. Maybe a little bit taller than our low daisy. This is another one that's sort of facing that direction. But let's make it a little bigger. You can see the curve of my brush stroke. Curve towards the right, curve left and down. And I know I'm going to have white petals in there that's going to give it a shape. So I need this weird shape for any of this to even work. Okay. Now the other thing I've got to do is I've got to paint some kind of like pansies. So let's get some pansies going. I'll start with my dioxazine purple. This is sort of interesting. And I'll come right here and I'll make a little dot to build my pansy from. Okay. Now there is a little line that'll come up. Two little lines that'll go out. And then a little line that'll go down. That little star shape is what is my pansy. Make a curve and a curve. And I'm going to stroke down, and the height of the pansies at the center, right? The bottom is bigger. The pansies actually developed again in the next layers, but building this up helps us create the form and shape of the pansy. Paint in fancy pansies, or just fun little spring pansies like this, same process. I'm going to go ahead and put a little smaller pansy down here. So say I want to change that direction, I could be like, okay, there's the top. There's my little star. Curve. Things to notice. Notice that it's subtly kind of hider at the two apexes of the petals. That's just a nice little touch that you can do, even as a beginner, to create a little bit of form. I think I want another little purple pansy down here more. I got to put in some yellows too. Okay, pulling those out. See how we're building them? Doesn't really matter what order we build them in. We just have to create that little star shape. Okay. Now, rinse out. I take a little bit of my yellow and white together. I'm going to come here and I'm going to make a little yellow pansy. I may end up putting its little yellow petal behind the purple or in front. It really depends on how I feel. But let's put another little yellow pansy here. Kind of filling up this space. It's fun. You make the little guy and then you can be like, they just need to have that basis. Now, I like a little weird tipped forward pansy. It's sort of fun for me. So I'm going to take my little purple here. I'm going to do a fun thing right above here. Make a long line right there. And then a little couple sort of downward fork lines. And that is that weird little snow pea style pansy where it's like not quite opened all the way. There we go. I am liking that. I am liking that. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of black. Actually, let's call this a step and then we'll come back and do the black. Let's call this a step, because I think it's hard to get everything else after that. I'm going to take black now and I'm going to thin it. That means like I'm going to use some water on my round brush. And I'm going to go ahead and give myself a stem, you know, just kind of imply a few of them. A lot of them go away once I put the grass in. This stem is a little more thoughtful. I'm going to go bump, bump. Just going to have a stem. And then we're going to do something really fun. I'm going to come up here. Want to find a little spot that doesn't erase all my little flowers. There we go. Like that. Let's bring up a little leaf. Okay. And I'm going to, as lightly as I can, make a series of little lines coming out. Pretty evenly. And then where they're out there, I'm going to go around and go like this. Kind of creating a little dandelion halo. Can you see it now? When come back with white, it will get fluffier. But that's that first little dandelion halo. And then I'm going to come over here and say that there's a dandelion halo here maybe. Going off the page. Maybe a little friend right there. And I'll put it sort of behind the yellow. And then, and I might even get into my, remember that handy dandy filbert I held to the side? I might get into my handy dandy filbert because that does nice fast grass. I'm going to get my black on there and just create that first layer of grass. You probably haven't used black in this way, and so that might be kind of crazy and exciting or scary, depending on your relationship to the color black in your painting. Sometimes people get overwhelmed by black paint because it's a very strong color in your canvas and it can really overwhelm the color. but contrast is everything in painting. So sometimes when used correctly, it's your secret friend. So the brush stroke is from the bottom and I flick up. I have a curve on there and I'm letting the brush do the work. You can use a brown brush to do this. You can use a filbert to do this. You could probably use a fan to do this. And I'm just making sure that across the base here, it's kind of solid because it has to seem sort of thick, as you would. Okay, I might give myself maybe, oh wow, I'm going to take my round again and I'm going to come right here. I'm going to make little downward strokes. This could be a leaf. And I'm going to have leaves like this in my grass that are going to be, you know, coming forward. So I know that those are happening when I get the... Now we're going to dry everything.
Yeah.
All right. Remember what I said? Ugly stage.
It's okay. It's just underpainting. This
Underpainting.
It's like the shadows of the flowers.
It's the shadows of everything, and you just got to get them in.
Yeah. So you got to get this down. This is the foundation by which the highlights stand. Because you got to paint and generally you paint the darkest things in the back for a lot of reasons that have to do with perspective and things. But in paint, especially acrylic paint, student paint doesn't cover darker or blacks as easy. So ideally we put the darkest ones down there and then up and look out like that, and that's why, you know, we build these up layer by layer, going from dark.
Even though you may not love it at this stage, it's so worth doing.
It has this process.
It has a process. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my smaller filbert, which is a number 4 Isabay Isochrome filbert, but you can see it's that rounded shape again. I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow, maybe a smidge of red. And I'm going to come here and the center of this flower, I'm going to very carefully paint out the beginning of a yellow center. And a little bit of one there, so later I can find it. You'll notice that I'm placing this as like a half button close like in that center so that I can move it and face it this way. Whereas the one that's facing me is fairly head on. Fairly head on, as they say. Put out a little more white paint if one needs to. Now sometimes, right, I'm going to switch to a different number 4. This is still a number 4 round. I just want a better point on it. I'm going to go ahead and load up my white. And I'm going to add a dot to this top side there. And I'm going to very carefully come around and add white. You can even sort of line that there. See, I've given it a little line. Nice little white that's there. And then you're going to come around and do the same little cross marks over the black to finish your dandelion off. And you can see that lightens it right up. Curve, 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 curve. It's just a little fluffy. Let's come over here. Maybe this time you want to do your curve, 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 curves first so you can really see them. See how we're doing the white over it? And that just helps those dandelions show up. It's the contrast that lets us see them in this very busy floral, and it gives it kind of a nice block modern look. And I will go ahead and put little dots in the center there. There we go. And I'm still working my white. So I'll put my number 4 aside. I've got my filbert. I'm going to take a little bit of my white and a smidge of my ultramarine blue, just a smidge. And you're going to come right here on this side of the petal. I'm going to pull in. It's okay if you pull in over your yellow. The yellow is just a guide. You got to put it back later anyways. When I come to this side, I'm going to curve down. The center, I'll change the directionality of the curve. So you want this to be white, but not pure white at this stage.
You say you got to preserve that pure for the very last one, right?
For that very last row. So things that are okay going over your yellow, things that are okay is having it be off-white, and it's okay for some of the blue, even ideally for some of the blue to be showing through. Because that's going to create some shadows. That's why we put it there.
Right.
Now, here, curving towards the right and then curving down and left. And then you do little straight kind of little comma lines there that come in and, you know, they sort of capture the flower. See how those curve marks capture it? We're going to put that yellow back in, but it helps us to know where it is. Same thing, curving up, curving down. Kind of coming in front. And then where it's right in front of us, you can make a little curve line, and that's a little petal that's facing you. All right. Now, this has to be dried before we can do the next part.
Okay, good. So questions?
Yes.
Okay, let's see here. I use a 16 by 20 canvases. What paint is the best coverage for a ground, as I find it difficult to cover and wasteful?
Abstract acrylic.
Yeah, it's true. Abstract acrylic. It's a very budget.
It's the best quality paint for the price point in that market. There isn't another company that puts as much pigment in the paint at that price point. And it comes in a lot of professional features. So if you're trying to do paintings where you're like, I'm going to do some of this in a more economic paint and then finishing in my fine pro paint, that's the base that I would use more than Liquitex Basics or Artist Loft or any of that as an economic choice. I would go abstract acrylics because it doesn't shrink. Its color shift is much less. It has many more professional options. You can frost the stuff out with frosting tips. They really thought it out. Plus, they've got the mediums, and they've got soft body, and they've got inks, and it's just like a full range. And so you can save money there and then finish with something else. Now let's dry, and we have to put our next layer on.
Yeah. So I hope that helps there. And if you have any more questions, probably put them in the chat, and we'll try to catch those as we can. It's always nice to see everybody out here and to try to get the questions live, which is kind of, what we like doing here. Do you need a new step here?
New steppy step. So I definitely want to put out a little more white. I'm going to get my brush really, really clean, like you do. Wipe it off. And then we're going to come in, and this little last layer of petals is the big one. So I'm going to go in with just pure white. And these are a little bit shorter than the ones I've already put in. I still use the same kind of curving. The curving process of it might not necessarily change. But that's how you get that thick layer. Now I can always put those yellow centers in super duper easy, but once I get that in, and sometimes it helps to have that faux yellow center before you put your final one in, so you're not changing the face of the flower to match the petals that you accidentally painted. Come here and paint that. Now remember, we're going to do the curve around. So I'm going to come right here and curve in, and then one across. Easy peasy, we can put that yellow back in.
Right, it's easy to just paint it back in.
Hard to get the petals going the right way. We get here, come right here. See, this is where the filbert is. I got that curve there, short petals there, gives me that front. Now while this is all having a dry, right, I can come and take a little bit of my white over to my purple. Why not, really? And I can come in, and so really it's about how things layer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here on the top of the flower with my light and then curve that in. I'm going to make sure I have good vision on this. That's one of the things that will really help you. Go ahead and bring that in. Pushing that brush back to curve that. And then the front face layers last. All right, let's do that here. So back layer first. Then the side layers. Last layers. And I'm just throwing in all my little purples while I'm here. Okay, now up here at the top, again, that's the purple and white. And I'm going to do this one a bit darker. See how we're doing? A little more purple. There we go. Wipe off. Do a little tuck there. A little bit in there. And then I'm going to get into my quinacridone. Very careful, layer in that last little petal. And that's how you get that crazy little fun shape. Now let's call it a whole new step and we'll work on the center of the these guys for a second. Okay, so I'm going to get maybe a little more Dox purple and quinacridone together. See it with a little bit of white, it's still pretty dark. Do the sides first and the front face last. So that's a fun way to get that center going. Thank you, Trish. You are awesome, Trish. Putting in those centers. See, I've got a curved stroke, and that really helps me. Right? Now I can wipe off. And get a very light purple. So light. Kind of come to that edge there, can't I? Come to that edge. That little last touch can really help that all come together. It's just a little bit lighter than the other ones that you did. That one's real good. I like that where it went real light. Because pansies have faces. So you get that base face in, the base face. We're getting a base face.
The base face.
So can you see this load? It's like everything is just sort of on the edge of my brush here. So when I'm going in there to paint and I stroke back, I let the brush create that flower just a little bit. Now I'm going to come up here and again tuck back a little bit of this white. Get pink and white here. And I'll finish that top one with a little bit of white lining later. You know? All right, let's come back on a new step. I don't feel like we've got to necessarily... we can dry it actually. Why not? Be safe. Sometimes you can dry the painting because you're like, dude, I don't want to drag paint all over.
Yeah, sometimes that's just a really good idea just to give it a quick dry between. That way, if you put your hand down where you just were painting, you don't accidentally get paint hand. And that can happen. So just make sure you give it a quick dry between those steps, and that'll make it much easier to do the layering technique, which I'm sure she'll talk more about as we go. Because that's what we do, is build layers. Lots and lots of layers. Just getting it that thorough dry so that you don't drag the paint.
Okay.
And now
we're going to get into our number 4 round. And I'm going to grab some of my yellow that is just tinged with a little bit of red. Right? And I'm going to come here to this guy. And on this little lower half, I'm going to just really stroke a nice strong stroke of yellow. And on the top, I'm going to get a very bright orange. There we go. So we have a nice little two-toned. Got a little bit of yellow here. Paint that little face kind of specifically peeking out. Why not? I might even shade the bottom of it with a little bit of orange. Wiping off on a towel. Just peeking that out there. So those little openings are just peeking out. I'm going to get my yellow. I'm going to use my number 4 for this. And I'm going to just go ahead with my strong yellow and do a second coat on my pansy flower. Don't worry too much about where I think that that's going to go behind. Come over here. Using that same brush stroke technique for the pansies. Same. Now, I'm going to grab a little bit of this magenta. You can have some white in it, that's okay. And I'm going to just start to paint just a little thought of a face in there. Right? It's just the little beginning thoughts of a face. You can see I don't touch them, right? Because the flower has like a layering, and I remember.
It kind of has these internal little textures.
So I want to leave a little bit for that, where the petals are. Just taking this with a little bit of the red. And rinse out. Now I do want a lot of white and yellow. And I'm going to come along the edge with that nice little white and yellow, making that little pansy face. So this is the furthest back. Then this. See how we're just working those little edges? And then you can really see the front petal. And that's how you get that layering going. Now while I'm at it, if my purple is dry in the center, I'm going to take a little bit of my white and yellow and pre-kiss some of the inside of those purple pansies. Like, so this is the center. Maybe a little bit there. Because I know I'm going to want to come back and do something with that. Okay. That one's pretty good. Let's come in and I'm going to grab a little bit of white now on the toe of my brush.
It's a little highlighting.
Yeah. Going to go ahead and line around. The little purple pansies. They're dry, so I can do that. I could use a Posca pen to do this. That would be okay. I could use my fluid white paint. I'm just using a simpler set of materials today because, you know, we have beginners. You might not have all the things. Let's come here. Gonna do that, and I think it might be nice to also come in with some white along our yellow if our yellow is dry. If your yellow isn't dry, dry it. See how we're just coming along that? Just defining. Now, we're not going to call this a whole new step, but I'm going to dry everything so I can just sort of finish off my little pansies.
It's like a half step.
It's a half step.
It's like, you know, when you're dancing and you don't really go for a full step, you take a little step. It's like a little doo-doo-doo-doo. It's just a little like that, just a little step. I'm not like, I don't know dance steps, but I know they do that because I see them. And they tried to teach me dance once. I took dance in college with Cinnamon. So I took dance in college with you.
Yes, you did.
And
we
so
were terrible at it.
I know that there are half steps in dance. I just don't know what they're called. Shuffle ball change.
That is reflected in our grade from that class.
I got jazz hands.
So
that's what I got.
Okay, so I'm going to come in. I'm taking a mix of dioxazine purple and the quinacridone, and I'm going to come in just a little bit. Paint those centers. Isn't that fun? Not all the way to the center. I'm leaving a little yellow in that center. Just a little bit of that color. Rinse out. Now come in and I'm going to grab a little bit of my cad yellow, and I like it if some cad red gets in on it. I think it's fun. And go over the areas that I pre-painted, just because now that yellow will pop a lot more than if I had just tried to put yellow on the purple, because the yellow isn't strong enough to just cover purple. You can come in and play with anything, right? I can come in and add another little center. And another thing I might do is come into the center of my yellows and just make sure I've got a little dot of yellow in that center there, just to make sure that dot is there for those little pansy faces. Grab a little white. I don't want it to have that much water in it. Sometimes I like to add a little bit of kind of like a white highlighting, or see little short strokes coming in.
Yeah.
Might come back with a little purple and magenta. That's really pretty. Okay, that's a step. We're going to dry everything and come back and I'll show you what you're going to do next. We're like literally almost done. Literally almost.
Very close. I can see we need some bees. There's some bees, I think. I see the bees. And, oh, we gotta put the green grass in too. I see green grass and bees, and I'm just looking. I'm observing. She's like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about like what she's got to do next. Because I like to be observant and see if I can figure it out as we go. What are we gonna do? I don't know. We're gonna see. We're all here together in this live to see what she does. Now we need a new step, don't we?
New step.
It's the 11th.
11th step. I'm going to use my filbert, my number 4 filbert. And I'm going to take my burnt sienna and my phthalo green together, and I'm going to mix a very dark green with my filbert. And I'll come to this little leaf here, and I will very carefully come on this far side. I don't want to paint my white out, but I will paint out that little part. And I'm going to begin to go over my black and hardly be able to see it with a little bit of this green. Adding a little bit of, oh, I definitely want to add some there. And I actually will come down that stem. It's just a loose thing. Now, take a little bit of that green and brown, and we're going to add a lot of yellow over here. Come here. And very carefully add some highlights to that grass. So upward stroke, presses harder at the beginning and releases at the end. On the leaf, I'm going to touch and pull down. Kind of imply that one. It's okay for you to go over with your blades of grass, your flowers, because they're in a field.
Flowers in a field.
Flowers in a field happen. Can add some little blades sticking out there. Let's get one here. Pull, 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 pull. So it's like a little zipper. Make a little forward one right there. See how we're doing? If you want. You don't have to, but you can layer in even leaves like that. See how we're doing? So you're saying that there's plants in the grass, that it's not all just grass, it's other interesting things. Get a bunch of my little yellow and green and put some there. come down there. That's nice.
It's fun to hear a little.
Just very calmly.
We're gonna have Angela still has some Sherpa soap. We're gonna have more soon.
More soap soon.
We're waiting on the manufacturing sample right now to come back. They've already.
It takes a while to cure soap.
Yeah, because they've already gotten our mixture. We've shared our recipe. They've made the correct scent oil. It's the thieves oil blend that Cinnamon has.
It's not thieves oil.
Oh,
thieves oil was loosely based in a recipe theoretically that I think this person thought was from the Renaissance. Ours is actually based in the Renaissance formula.
Yeah, so
that was used during the plague and was also used in studios, and
it works. It works.
It has like historic lavender spike, which is very different than lavender, and we use the essential oils that we use actually do break down acrylic paint on top of what the solvent does.
I mean, like we're using a professional.
I'm gonna dry this. We'll come back and do. What step are we on?
The next step will be 12.
Okay, then we're finishing at 12.
Okay.
We actually probably will. Bees might be 13. I don't know what to say.
But we just got steps. It's all right. We have steps. So yeah, generally, so the soap company, they use our recipe. Just kind of so you know, Lynn, they have the company that we're using. They do cold processed soap. I think it's the right word for it. It's where we use actually lye. We use a lye and a vegetable oil based. I think it's palm and olive oil, I believe. I'd have to go back and look at it, but we use a really nice base.
I'm gonna just touch up a little bit of yellow on my little purple pansies with my filbert, just because I think it looked nice. Brighten them up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do that. I'll be like, you could be brightened up, and that's another thing that you can do. You can brighten up your colors. So I'm gonna take my dark green way over to my yellow and make a very, very light green. So light. See how light it is? And then we're going to add some white into it. That's how light it is. It's just very light. And highlight those pieces. And it is that contrast that is going to help us really feel like this is thick grass. You don't put it everywhere, you put it some places. Because what does it do? The contrast is what gives it the depth. Sorry, and I love that you remember that there was a thieves oil relationship to it. I had pointed that out because thieves oil is a registered brand name for one of the scent companies that has essential oils out there. And I was like...
Because it's like, there was like 16th century Renaissance research, and I know that like all these different things have been in it, so I just don't know all of them. That's what I'm saying is that
no I actually like looked into what people had in their studios and stuff like that. How did people clean paint?
And what I know is I have a recipe that is 80 drops of this and 40 drops of that and 50 drops of this, and it's like we have 10 different, let me think about it, at least 8, possibly 10 different essential oils that we use. That's what was kind of weird, is they were like, can't we just use like this?
Well, and my point was that they used those same things during the plague to
right.
work. Yes, so
yeah, we're using
with the
exactly.
exception of we added more power, like they didn't have 10 times orange, or they
no
might not have had spike. Anyways, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is how it tied in. We're going to zipper down, and you can see how once you get that contrast, those zippered leaves become much more. Maybe come here on the edge. Just a little bit here and there. And just because I don't want to go to step 12, because I'm weird like that. And you can go through this, by the way, as far as you want to go. You can keep adding yellow, right? And you can add more white. And look, you can go another level. Look at how much level you can go. That's a big level change, isn't it? You can even level up there. I'm going to do that real quick so you can see it. So I added a lot more yellow and white and got even that contrast going. So you can brighten this, But the brightness of it is because we have that depth. That depth is everything. All right. I'm not gonna go on to do the thing for the, I don't want to do step 13 because I'm weird. I'm sorry guys, I'm just weird. Not really a true thing, but sometimes it gets in your head, you know? I'm going to take a small liner brush. If you have acrylic paint, you're going to want to have a liner brush. You want a good round, you want a filbert, you want a bright, you want something big to paint a lot of areas. I like to have a mixture of these brushes and synthetic and bristles, and I like to have some blenders. And you know my favorite blenders are the Select 1-inch oval mop, synthetic, and the round blender. All right, so I'm going to get my detail brush and I'm going to go ahead and get some water into my black and thin it. So I'm taking a drop or two over to my black and then I roll the brush out. And I'm going to show you how to do a bee. Let's come up here. This little bee, he's going to be coming down into the flower. So I'm going to make a little circle. Because I just need to know where his head is, right? And let's give him a couple little antennae. I'll make a little line to the back of him, and then he's always fuzzy. My bees are always fuzzy. You watercolor bee with me, you acrylic bee with me, even my slimline bees are fuzzy bees. So see how I'm making little lines out like he's got fur? He's basically a potato with fur. And he's got a little head on him. I do like to do a couple little black wings. I don't really worry too much about the legs. That's not really a big thing for me. Let's put one up here. Let's give him a little round face. Bees, bees, bees.
Bees, bees, bees.
Hi, Sherpa. I'm a beginner. Can you give me a list of the types of brushes, brands, and sizes I should buy? Yes, and we're going to pull those more together. I think I'm going to come up with a basic kit of like things that... What it is that I paint with a lot of professional brushes because I am now at this point in my world particular. But I recognize as a beginner, you may not want to use those brushes or invest in that at this time yet. So sometimes it's hard to say, oh, well, I'm using the Art Hog bristles because you're looking at that going, but they're proud of those. You paint all the time, you'd be like, cool with it, right? Like golf clubs. You golf a lot. Invest in some golf clubs. I don't golf, but you know, whatever you do a lot, you might invest in. But there's a brand called Simply Simmons, and they come in an extra firm filament and a hog bristle, and they are more economic. So I've got to figure out how to describe that. And I also have them on my Amazon store right now. Brushes that I like and recommend are on my Amazon store. And then also, when we have the store open, we're going to have little kits that you can buy, like a starter set, and, you know, it'll have my favorites. But here's the thing. You can always use my thing to just cross shop it. I'm not going to be offended if you cross shop my stuff ever, because we just learned that sometimes companies buy stuff on the gray market and they get them for cheaper than, you know, you can even buy them wholesale. So like, I'm not going to be mad at you because you found a deal on eBay. I'm not.
It's funny. A lot of times we're, you know,
that's a helpful, not helpful answer. I know that.
Oh, no. And you know, there's an interesting point. It's
do like a little wing shape here. See little wings, and I give them little antennas.
A lot of times we do our own thing, and it's not so much that we're concerned about people trying to copy us, as much as it's
I'm adding a little black lining to the little daisies here, and I'm going to add some dots.
We don't like to announce ahead of time of the kind of things that we're doing because it's so complex to explain. So, like all of our soaps and stuff, all the things that we do to that, we're pretty transparent in what we use, and all that's going to be on the
yeah, because you have to be able to know that for safety. And,
yeah.
And the first person we worked with immediately sold it to another artist.
Yeah, so
who was like, "Oh, this is mine," and then it was just like,
yeah.
No, I spent a year researching it, but okay, fine. And then like tried to go behind our back, and so it was like a whole thing. And so we've already even been through that. But here's the thing. I actually have the info and I know what I'm looking for, and And in the end, you're trust me, and I know that, not
Yeah.
some fly-by-night weird soap on Amazon.
And even if you were to decide to go try to knock off any of our products, believe me, it will take you years to catch up in research. I'm not even worried about it. Like, to figure out
Add
the
some little
blends.
legs to
like,
that.
we put real science behind this.
Do
So-
you? Do you put real science behind it?
Well, how many variations on the
I'm
blends
gonna
did we
try this, but
make?
don't call it. You don't have to call it a new step.
We do this all day, every day. This is our life. We love this. And yeah, when it came time to making soap scents, we had, oh gosh, not only did we test for strength of like how like wicking action, like we broke a little, we had little charts where we had little oils out and we would dip things and we would test them and we would work with them and then we would probably made 30 different batches of soap, somewhere around there, testing out these different things.
Oh, what are we saying?
Oh, I was just like, we probably made 30 batches of test soap before we finally got to at
More.
least 30 to get to the right.
There were many ideas, like the loofah in the soap that took
It's a
forever to
good
get
idea.
to.
Good idea.
You know, just lots of different things, and because you know, the soap is actually cold processed soap is pretty. Boy, it is a process.
Susan, go to our
It's
website.
dangerous.
You would love a beginner series. Go to our website. There's a little thing that says begin here. It's
Oh,
the
that is
big
exactly.
acrylic painting course. Start there.
Yes, it's free.
It's free.
And it takes years off your learning curve. It's a bit of an investment in your time because what I do is I just took everything I've ever learned all the years I've been on YouTube from every beginner question I've ever been asked. Like we have stuff in there about setting up studio for mobility issues. We talk about what light bulb do you need? What brushes do you need? Why? Basic color mixing, basic brushstroke techniques, first 10 paintings you need to do. And it's just and it just is primary colors, so it gets you. It just what it does is it says, okay, as fast as we can and as completely as we can, what can we tell you to make every painting after these 10 better? And
It's a really good series.
it is a really good
And
series. I'm super proud of
we're
it. I'm going to
investing
take
in-
my yellow here, and I'm going to just get my yellow on my little thing.
You make it. Put it on there.
And we're going to give them little bits of, I'm going to paint it pretty thick, so it shows I'm going to add some little yellowy stripes with this is a #1 select liner from Princeton. The Princeton Detailed series and the Select series is good. The Velvet Touch series is good. They have some really good specialty brushes I think everybody should have. Like the liners, the 1-inch mop, the round blender. These are really good brushes to just have for techniques. They help you troubleshoot some of your problems. Let's get them all little stripey, because these stripies, they happy stripy bees. They're happy stripy bees. And that's the important thing to understand is they're happy stripy bees.
The bees bee.
The bees. I'm going to take a little bit of my white and blue together. Wish it were a little fluider than that, so I'm going to add some water, like you do, to improve flow. And I'm going to make a little indentation in there. Back wing first, then the front wing, and that helps layer them. The back wing goes first, and then you do the front wing, and it helps layer. The front wing is a stronger press and release on the stroke, and the back wing is lighter. And that's how I can kind of control the amount of paint that I put down. You know, and you can even take like this little brush at the end and do any little details that you want. You can have at it as you like. I think we got there.
That's pretty smooth.
I think we did it. So yeah, I highly recommend that beginner's course, and we're making it easier by putting it into a school system.
Yeah, you'll be able to track your progress.
So you'll be able to track you won't have to like find it on YouTube, find the link, you know, all the stuff that we currently have.
Organizing.
For sequential, if you don't know, if you're new, Susan, we do big programs like we do the 13 Days of Halloween, or we do Winter Wonder, which is just basically all the holidays.
Fall, y'all. 13
Fall,
Days of
y'all.
Halloween.
Acrylic
Winter
April, which is a
Wonder.
30-day
Acrylic
painting challenge that we
April.
do every year. So that
There's
will
a
help
few.
those.
There's a
Yeah.
few programs.
There's a queue of actual programs, and for the programs, we're wanting to put them in the school, so it's just easier to find everything. I'm going to go ahead and give that a signature. That was a fun signature. I like how it came out today. I like, if you're wanting to know, brush companies I like. Raphael. I like very much. I like Princeton. I like Escoda. Simply Simmons. Not everything in the Robert Simmons line, but there are good brushes in the Robert Simmons line. FM's got a few good brushes. You can find them. You can find them. They are out there. There's some good stuff at Hobby Lobby now.
Yep. There's so many.
Not Hobby Lobby. Not Hobby Lobby. Michael's.
Michael's. We don't really do Hobby Lobby much, do we?
I just don't. I'm not familiar with the product line. We have not been anywhere near it.
And
so for a second, but I've been near Michael's, so I've put hands on it, so I can say for sure I've touched it and I know it's good. All right, guys, this was super fun. I hope you loved it. This Saturday is the 2 hummingbirds. I am really excited to share those with you. I will drop their 1-minute sneak peek tomorrow, so you can see the time lapse of them in 1 minute to see what you're getting into with them. But they're really beautiful, and of course, they'll go with all the other bazillion birds that we have painted. If I do another bird hop with my mom, it'll be too many birds. We'll have the full flock, won't we? I like to paint a bird. If you like to paint a bird, hit subscribe. If you like to paint horses or flowers or girls.
If you like to paint.
If you like to paint in general.
Just in general. We're a lot of painter leads.
Oceans, challenges. If you want to just paint all the things. Color mixing course I worked on it yesterday. I'm going to work on it hard today. Should be out, starting to drop soon. Color mixing course, you'll have full videos and also shorts. Save the shorts. Don't discount those color mixing shorts, because that's going to be your, wait, how did I do that color again? How do I get that gray? You're going to want to save those into your own playlist. We're going to also put those in a course so you can find everything together, but you're going to want those. Don't ignore them. And be sure, and even on the shorts, you're like, I'm not into that short. Hit that like, comment on it, do something so it shows them to you, because you don't want to miss the tips that are coming. They're going to be so good. And in 1 minute, I'll show you something really important that you need to know about painting. And you've got a minute, right, to learn a thing?
Uh-huh.
Why not learn a thing? So, yes, there's time lapses right now, but they teach you something, and then there'll be tips coming, and they'll be fun. All right. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.